Essentially, AI right now in its current state, I'd say it's like the age of agents. Essentially, you create agents for each particular function. That agent has a very specific job, and you train the agent to be the fact checker. Then you train another agent to be like the acupuncturist, and you feed it and train it on acupuncture data. This is data coming from other practitioners. It's data coming from source textbooks. You're feeding it structured data, so its only job is to be the best possible acupuncturist. And so you train all of these things, and then you have a manager that sits in the middle.
I'm Michael Max, and this is Geological, the podcast that curates East Asian medicine and methods through the power of conversation. No cure exists for the anxiety that conflates worry with safety, as if the prayer wheel of thought and litany of self-whispered catastrophes could ever help us avoid imagined pitfalls in life. The other day, a patient asked what I do with my anxiety. Sometimes this happens in clinic. Your patients will turn the tables on you and ask you something revealing of yourself. Sometimes, and in just a ripe enough moment for you to notice something about yourself that you hadn't previously given voice to. What do I do with my anxiety? I eat it for breakfast. I use it to power me through what needs to be done. I reckon it's a kind of motivation for me. Maybe it's not the most healthy way of coping with it, but that's what I do. I get busy. I do something. Perhaps there are bad psychological reasons for sublimating my anxiety in this way. It does have me working long hours. For sure, it more often has the voice of a critic than a patient advisor, but it does motivate me. And while it might not be the most clean burning fuel, it does have some horsepower to it. Beyond that, it works. When I get stuff done, I was going to say the anxiety abates, but that's not actually true. It's always there to some degree. Maybe it's just part of the ever-present neurological buzz that goes with living in a changing and uncertain world. Maybe my anxiety is an attempt to calm the autoplay mantra of what if. Maybe learning to sit still quietly would be helpful. For sure, there's a place for exercising the capacity to hold still and notice the world doesn't fall apart. But for me, taking anxiety and using it to power productive work, it seems helpful. It helps me to prioritize action over rumination. Gives me an edge when self-doubt creeps in, because somehow anxiety reminds me that I don't have time for unproductive musing. There's work to be done, and damn it, get on it. There are times I wonder if I've gone too far on the work-life balance in favor of work. Maybe it's the unresolved problems I have with managing my time. But here's the thing. I like my work. And I've heard it said that the reward for work well done is more of it. Joseph Campbell set my generation alight with telling us to follow our bliss. I think that idea is half right. I'd say follow your interests. And my anxiety, it reminds me there are only so many hours in a day and years in a life. Don't waste it. Why not take the rumination and disorganized mental static and send it up as a burnt offering to whatever problem stands in between you and getting better at something that you're interested in? People that make a difference, they're not sitting back waiting for the universe to hand them a manifestation. They're out there tinkering, toiling. They don't have time to worry about failures because the only failure is stopping. You need something to keep you going. Anxiety, it will help you get through a lot of blockages, especially if you decide that you're on friendly terms with it. I've heard it said that progress in the world doesn't come from contented people. It is fueled by the drive and desires of the discontent. They have the capacity to take complaint and turn it into productive action. Not that it's always easy or without its downsides. As you'll hear in this conversation with Kenan Akbas, he's at times paid a price for having an interesting life. But the upside is creativity and finding that leaning on what interests you, it will in turn require ramping up your creativity, courage, and chutzpah. Where might that take you? Listen in and find out. Kenan likes the edges, and in this conversation, maybe you'll get some ideas on how to navigate yours. We'll be right back, right after this. These conversations come to you through the generous support of our sponsors and members. You have clinic challenges? Our sponsors have solutions. It's hip to be square with the game-changing Fascia Buddy cupping system that your patients are going to love. One of the foundations of a smooth-running clinic is having a supplier that you can rely on. Blue Poppy is your trusted source for all your clinic supply needs. Listen in for their special Black Friday discount. Mayway focuses this month on digestive health. Visit them not just for herbs, but also for learning resources that help you to better use real Chinese medicine. Later in the show, you'll hear how Jane's suite of clinic management tools makes office management a breeze. And for those of you licensed in California who want to get on insurance rolls with the best reimbursements and the least hassles, we have a special message from AccuCare, who has been helping acupuncturists do exactly that for over 30 years. Do be sure to visit the sponsors page on the Qiological website to take advantage of all the special offers that our terrific sponsors have for listeners of the podcast.
The square cupping revolution has begun. Hi again, John Stan here, developer of the multi-sized Fascia Buddy square cupping system. We've been demonstrating the square cup system at conferences across North America and Europe, meeting wide-eyed practitioners excited by what the square cups can do. Our short, on-the-spot treatments have produced quick fascial remodeling, resulting in increased range of motion, less pain, and better function. Circular cups will always have a place, but the new techniques made possible with Fascia Buddy square cups will expand what you can accomplish, helping you love cupping even more. Fascia Buddy products are now available in the US through Golden Needle, Blue Poppy, and Omni Therapy Supply, in Canada at Eastern Currents, in the EU at acupunctureworld.com, and in New Zealand at Kinetic Distributions. Visit fasciabuddy.com to see links to our distributors and get your set today.
Running a busy clinic means staying stocked with the products you trust, and this November, Blue Poppy is making it easier than ever. From November 17th through the 30th, take 20% off your favorite Blue Poppy products during their Black Friday sale. That includes everything from their premium acupuncture needle brands, Tempo and Balance, to trusted herbal formulas like the Classics line, Great Nature Classics Cold Quell, Pediatrics Externals, and many more. It's the perfect time to stock up before the year ends, and with free shipping on all orders over $50 in the continental United States, there's even more to love. Don't miss this limited offer, 20% off Blue Poppy products, November 17th through the 30th.
Hi folks, I'm Yvonne Lau, president of Mayway Herbs. This month at Mayway, we're focused on digestive health, a core foundation of wellness in Chinese medicine. In our newsletter and on our Chinese Medicine Matters podcast, we'll explore formulas and treatment for constipation, IBS, and food stagnation, offering both classical TCM insights and practical clinical applications. Since 1969, Mayway Herbs has been a trusted source for high-quality herbal products. Our Plumflower brand line includes pills, tablets, extract granules, and organic herbs. And with educational resources, articles, and videos, we're here to help you provide the very best patient care. Visit us at mayway.com to explore more. We wish you a wonderful holiday season, and deep thanks, as always, for your support. Here's to better health and balance with the wisdom of real Chinese medicine.
Kenan Akbas, welcome to Qiological.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I'm excited. We were just
Me too.
jibber-jabbering for a few minutes before rolling tape. You know, I always feel like I should actually hit the record button at the beginning because there's always so much good stuff. We're
Stuff for B-roll, right?
talking about the great food in Japan and living in Taiwan and all that crazy stuff. You're in Japan these days.
I am. I'm in Fukuoka. My wife is she's from actually a place called Kumamoto. And so we decided to live in Fukuoka so that she can be near her family. It's kind of, we're at that age where it matters now.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents start to need us. And I made the big leap to make it easy for her and give our kids an experience of being closer to their culture. Because my father is from Turkey, and I got my culture. My mom's a Jewish lady from Long Island, and we lived in New York. So I got all the New York Jewish culture, but the Turkish one was just through my father and maybe some of his friends. So, I didn't go to Turkey and I didn't learn Turkish, but I didn't go there until I was 20. So I didn't want that to happen to my kids. And so they speak fluent Japanese, read, write, speak. And going to Japan, I felt like it's more than just language. I want them to learn the subtleties of the culture. And so I threw them right into public school. So
That's great.
it was a little rough in the beginning for her, but she's adjusted and she loves it now.
So they're not just bilingual, they're bicultural. And beyond that, they have a connection with their grandparents.
Yes. And great-grandparents, because
It's a treasure to be connected to your grandparents.
yeah.
And great-grandparents, yeah?
Yeah, because, I tend to live longer in Japan. And so she did, whether she has faint memories, which I think they're pretty faint at this point, but she did get to, spend time with her great-grandparents.
Yeah. I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Something comes in. You can't quite put your finger on it. You were just talking about being a
Mm-hmm.
child of a Turkish and Jewish parents. And I mean, there's just stuff you get because of the mishigas that you live with.
Oh, yeah. And, for me, I'm getting it from two very different cultures. And yeah, it was interesting. So
Does that make you an appropriator of culture, or does it just make you bicultural in a way that allows you to navigate in ways that you otherwise couldn't?
I think it's how people perceive you, I feel, because like if I'm with certain people, they're like, okay, you're in our tribe.
Mm.
You're one of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the opposite can be true, where they feel like, oh, well, you're not pure, right? Or you're not
You're not from around here.
totally one of us, right? So I think these things can go either way. But for me growing up, I feel like it definitely kept my mind open because there were, I guess, two avenues of thought. And so, which one do you accept? And then it's like, well, I kind of understand them both and I'm not going to pick either.
Mm.
So that's probably why I got so influenced by things like Chinese medicine and Chinese philosophy. And that stuff really excited me from when I was very young. I mean,
When did that start? What happened?
well, I mean, you know what? Honestly, if I really think about it, I'm from the old school. So, New York City, there used to be like on Sundays, they used to have like show like kung fu movies, like lip synced kung fu movies on public television. And so I would just like Bruce Lee and just like Five Deadly Venoms, like all these like old school kung fu movies that just, it's like, I just found it so fascinating then. And maybe that was like the beginning of the influence because I just loved this kind of like Chinese action kung fu movies, right? I think it maybe had started there with the interest in the culture. And that kind of, stuck with me. And, as I moved through life, at some point, I was having some health issues. And I spoke to a friend of mine and she said, you should see my father. He's an acupuncturist. And I thought, I didn't think it would work, but I was desperate. I felt terrible.
Nobody thinks it's going to work. Like acupuncture, what the hell's that supposed to do? That's wacky.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it dealt with needles, but I didn't know much
How old were you?
more than that.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 14, 15, so probably 16.
You were 16, right? That's a pretty young dude still.
Oh, yeah.
You were having health problems at 16? What were you doing? Crack cocaine? What were you doing at 16?
That's just being recorded, right? So, no, I would say, I was an early bloomer. So I come from like New York City club kid culture. Like when techno first like hit the scene, I got really into it, and
And you're how old when it hit the scene?
and I should have been in school. I was going to these clubs at like 14.
14. How'd you get in there? Oh, wait. Back in those days, you could get in, right? Because they weren't.
Yeah, and they would pick you for it was like you couldn't just stand in a line. You had to look the look. You had to play the part, and they would like you.
You. So if you look like a player, you could get in.
If you just, if you look like the person they want that they wanted to be in there, that's how it worked back then. So they're like you, and so you're like, "How old are you?" They give me that look, and I'd quickly scramble a number together, and it's like go. And the things I saw there, you probably shouldn't see at 14, but it was happening, and it's called the Limelight. It was a club, and in an abandoned church. It's very controversial, but I had never heard music like that. It was like hardcore techno.
And you were into it.
Oh, I couldn't get enough, and
Yeah.
and it was just. And the people were just so fascinating. And then I would go back to high school and everyone's like, "Oh, what did you do last night?" I played video games, and I would just be like, "Nothing. I did nothing." I didn't want anyone to know. But I also was like getting really into it. So I looked kind of like a bit of a freak, right? I had like pink hair and I looked wild, right? Like I was really
Because you were.
into the club scene.
You were a bit wild, 14 years old.
It was. So maybe you could say I burned the candle at both ends.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't understand why. Plus, I think I also had pains in my body that I had had since I was a child, like debilitating back pain where it would just lock up and I'd have to lay on the ground.
As a child.
Mm.
So that's a little unusual. You must be an old soul.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there was a lot going on, so I feel like there was a lot of tense emotions around the house that I had to bat.
And what part of New York were you growing up in?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, but I don't remember that. But I was raised in Queens, in Rego Park. Then we moved to Manhattan. And then from Manhattan, we moved to Long Island, which was a huge jump. That was like culturally, right?
Okay, so when you're 14 and doing the techno scene, where are you living?
That I was living in, well, it's probably, I think that it was, to be honest, it's like I was a little younger than 14. My house, it's probably more like 13. Yeah. So that started in New York City because, I was living in Long Island, but I would take the train and go to the Limelight or the Palladium or these clubs. And
So you're living wildly at the Limelight.
Limelight, Palladium, all these places.
And 16 stuff is going on. So you go see an acupuncturist.
Yeah, and then my mom, my parents split, and my mom went to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale. So when I got to Fort Lauderdale, there was a very niche club scene, and I just jumped right in. And
I bet you did. If you can do the New York club scene,
oh yeah,
I'm sure you can do Fort Lauderdale.
yeah, these things were tame in comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It's a great subculture, and but it is late night stuff, right? Like things get started at 2 a.m.
How do you manage school?
They go to 6 a.m. I would go to school without sleeping. I was doing some wild stuff. So yeah, I was out late.
What was your first acupuncture treatment like?
Oh man.
Do you remember?
Of course I remember. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not a normal experience.
Imagine how surprised I am.
What I felt was, it was so intense for me. First off, I think when I went in there, I saw my friend's father who, I didn't know how skilled he was. His name's Dan Neville. He's in Miami.
Dan Neville. He's been on the podcast.
No way.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Dan Neville's been on the podcast. He sounds like an amazing character. He's down in Florida. He used to hang out with these old mystic Jews when he was like the age that you were doing clubs. He used to be hanging out with mystic Jews in Florida. He's a cool dude.
He's so deep, man. He's so wonderful. And his two beautiful kids, Ariel, who was my very good friend in high school, is his daughter. And so that's the time I was living in Florida. And yeah, she was like, you should see my dad. And
Oh, that's amazing.
I was like, I'll try anything. And yeah, I got so lucky to have met him. He was so kind to me. And beyond the kindness, he's the person who was my biggest influence to study Chinese medicine. And because I had my first treatment, and I think even during the diagnostic steps, he had someone in there who was also, I can't remember her name at the moment, but she was wild. She was so powerful and intuitive, and she just looked through me and she just saw everything. I don't know how to explain it. Same with Dan. And when I explained everything, and I just felt like they would be like what everyone else said was like, they were like, well, we understand. I was like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, nobody understands what I'm going through. And they did, and they knew how to treat it. And I laid there and I got my first treatment, and it was psychedelic, man. Mm. It was unlike, I went through so many phases it was so strange. Like I laid there and I felt this kind of rush up my spine, the top of my head, and it felt very thick, and it started to like get thinner. Each rush just get thinner and finer. And I was just like, whoa, this is so wild. And then I was like, wow, okay. And then all of a sudden I just felt happy. I was like, wow, why? And then I'm thinking to myself, the New York kid's like, why the hell are you happy? It's like, the part of my brain is like, what? There's nothing to be happy about. What are you happy for? And I'm just like laying there, I'm like, I don't know. I just feel really happy. And I'm like kind of laughing to myself like this, like I feel joy. And immediately it just flipped and I just started crying. And I'm just thinking to myself, why am I crying? I didn't know I was crying. It's not like I thought of something or I had something like that triggered it. Like nothing. I was just laying there. And then after like the crying or sobbing, all of a sudden it was like blue ocean. It's just quiet. And I just felt so peaceful. And I just laid there, and that thread that was going up my spine just got so thin I couldn't even perceive it anymore. And they came in, they took out the needles, and like, how was your treatment? I didn't know what to say. Like I was like, oh, it's good.
Yeah, what do you say after something like that? There's no words for that.
Because after experiencing that, there are no words. I couldn't explain it. And they gave me some herbs, and I walked outside, and it was like someone took my eyeballs, washed them, and like put them back in my face. Everything just seemed so sharp and clear. And I kept going back, but I never had that. That was that first thing, that whatever they unlocked, it was never that intense again. And nor did I go through those like emotions. That it was just that first, I don't know what they unlocked, but it was something that I normally don't tell people. And I'm telling you, that's being recorded, because not many people would understand. And I think many people would look at me like, oh, you're crazy. So I don't normally even tell people, but that's what happened to me. And I kept going. And it's so wild because it was this thing where it's like maybe a month or a couple months later, every reason I went in there complaining about the back pain, the anxiety, all these other issues I was dealing with, they were just not there. And I didn't even notice. It was like this subtle change and shift, taking my herbs, going there like once a week. And I was so broke. And it was just me and my mom, and she didn't have money. And so he didn't even charge me. He's such a generous man. And
a real mensch, huh?
Yeah. And yeah. And then I said to him at some point, I was like, how does this work? And I think like a lot of acupuncturists, people who study Chinese medicine, they get the book. You know what I'm talking about? Between Heaven and Earth, the book that everyone gets.
So the book for me was Web That Had No Weaver.
Ah, got it.
That's what my acupuncturist handed me when I got serious enough to go, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? And she handed that book to me. And I remember reading it, and it's like, this isn't helpful. I mean, it's weird, it's interesting, it's curious, but like I'm more confused now. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And between heaven and earth, while it lays things out simply, I think for a reader, reading it for the first time with zero experience, I was like reading the wood chapter like 3 times. It's like, what? It was hard to wrap my mind around. And I don't know where this came from, but like in my bedroom, I didn't buy it. My mom didn't buy it. There was the Tao Te Ching ended up in my bedroom. Someone must have come over and left it. I don't know who. It's probably Ariella, honestly. And then like
Probably. She's a sneaky one.
Yeah, right? I started to read it, and that hit me so hard. Even though I didn't understand it, there's something I understood about it that made me connect and want to understand it more. And then I read Mencius and other like Chinese philosophers and Confucius and start to learn more about these things. This is dial-up internet days. So like, I wasn't going online. You just go straight to the book. And yeah, so I think that's kind of like, that's where like things started. And I knew, hey, I want to do this. But I was also really young and not ready.
Yeah, you're 16 at this point.
Yeah. And I think after, once I got out of Florida, I went back to New York, and I went back to Manhattan to do real estate at 18.
Real estate. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Real estate at 18.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad did real estate and I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I didn't want to go straight to college because I didn't want to go to college without knowing what I wanted. It was a very strange thing. I think it was hard for other people to accept. But I was like, I just don't know what I want. And I don't want to go to school lost. So I wanted to take like a sabbatical and understand like stuff. And I was also motivated by a relationship that I was in. So I was like, I want to make money. And like, I was young love.
You sound like you are a natural born entrepreneur. Like, okay, here's a situation. I'm into the techno. How can I make this work? That's a very entrepreneurial kind of thing. Hey, there's this thing. It's got my attention. How can I make this shit work? End up in New York. Look, you've had a lot of experience, more experience than most kids get when they're in college in terms of having like wild life, like me being me. Many people go to college to have that. You've already done it. So like go to college to do that. You already graduated. So like now what? I might as well make some money, because why spend money to go to college when you could make money?
The wild thing, by the time I was 18 and I'd like gone through that, like with the acupuncture and kind of like healing myself to a degree, I was done. I was like, dude, I was like meditating with crystals and doing yoga. I was like, no drugs. I stopped. I used to smoke 2 packs a day and I quit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I went like in total opposite direction at a young age. So when everyone wanted to party hard, I was like, I'm good. I'm good. Like I was so done. I was done. It was so funny. And I went on a spiritual path, which was a whole nother thing. But then I went to Manhattan to do real estate. But at the same time, I was DJing. I was into hip hop. So I was DJing clubs at night. That was another thing I left out. I was like DJing.
So you're still doing clubs. But it's different. You're not doing drugs now.
And not doing drugs. A little drinking here and there, but like, no, but I was like, I was like super focused on the spiritual path, but I loved music and hip hop. And actually in Florida, I used to be a DJ as well. So like by the time I moved to New York, I kept DJing, and I was DJing clubs, hip hop clubs with these like skater hip hop types in the Lower East Side. It was like just another like micro niche of the subculture, that I think now is kind of infamous, but it was part of that group. And
you were there in the beginning of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You were there in the beginning. You were there in the beginning of techno. You kind of like this. You like the beginning of things.
I love the cutting edge. Right? It's like, what is that?
Well, look, you've done the same thing with Chinese medicine in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you became a practitioner. We could talk more about that. But you also were like one of the first out with online record keeping and calendaring and like make this stuff happen on, like use the technology to be your front desk?
It excites me to do things that haven't been done. And
See, you're an entrepreneur.
when I was in Taiwan, because I lived in Taiwan for 3.5 years, and I was in the hospital, I was there with my iPad and I was looking at all the technology, and I used to be an artist, and I knew graphic design and photography. And
This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR that's here to make clinical life a little easier. Running a health and wellness practice means managing a lot of moving parts. That's why I love how Jane helps to bring a bit of calm to the busy day by allowing me to set a schedule that works for my business. I can customize treatment types and times, locations, and staff availability to keep everybody organized and my clinic running smoothly. Need to send intake forms or appointment reminders? Jane can automate those too, helping patients to show up prepared and on time. And when it's time to pay, it's all taken care of. No extra card swipes or billing cleanup later. I especially like that with the welcome email my patients receive, they can fill out the intake, consent, and disclosure forms. It's easy for the patient, and it all goes right into their digital file. If you're looking for software that cares as much about the business side of your clinic as you care about your patients, head to jane.app/demo to learn more. And if you're ready to dive in, use the code Qiological for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. Okay, now wait a minute. Wait, hang on just a second. 18, DJ, real estate guy. How do you get to Taiwan? I don't need the whole story, but just fill me in a little bit.
First I became a photographer after that.
Of course.
Because I had traveled, and when I came back, and during that travel, I went for the first time, went to see my family in Turkey. It was my first time ever. And I got off the bus, and there was 50 to 70 people. I thought it was the village. It was all my family.
And they came to see you.
I realized later, and it processed once I left, that these were all my cousins. But I couldn't process it in the moment. It's there's so many people, and they're all very touchy, kissy culture. They don't leave you alone for a moment. Forget it. And as an American, we like our personal space. And no, forget it. That's how it's like.
No, forget it, man. You're a cousin.
You could be in the shower and they'll open it. Hey, you want some baklava? You're like, soap in your hair. You're like, get out of here. Get out of here. What are you doing? It's like.
It's really sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet. But it was a lot.
I'll bet.
It was intense, But I went to go visit my family in there for the first time. When I came back, I was like, all right, I'm going to be a photographer, because I had been dabbling in it, and I had a gift, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I didn't go to art school. I went to a photo lab, and I just asked a couple of people how to print, and they showed me a couple things. I just started printing. And I started making my own, because back then you had to go to the photo lab and print, and either black and white with all the chemicals, or, color lab, which was different. And so I started doing that. And I started working for famous photographers in New York City, fashion. There was more money in fashion. So I worked for a lot of fashion in the, fashion industry. And I did portraiture, and I ended up doing gallery shows and getting my works published. And I told you I was a DJ, but I also make beats. I make music. So I can make hip hop beats. And so I created the first ever MPC beat battle. It was called Beatdown in the Nuyorican Poets Cafe in the Lower East Side in New York City. So that was another thing. It hadn't been done. I was actually just sitting there with a friend of mine, and he was playing me his beats, and I was playing my beats, and we were like, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. We're going back and forth. And I was like, what if we did this on stage?
Oh.
And then I just started printing flyers. I designed something really quick in Illustrator. I started throwing these flyers around the city all day, just going to all the spots.
Beat down.
And then when I got to the Nuyorican, I thought it was, I thought it was going to be I don't know. I don't know what I expected. But when I got there was a line around the block, a city block.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way people were going to sit in the Nuyorican. We got there, and it was packed. And I was ill prepared. someone just loads a beat and hits play. And then we didn't know what to do. So we're like, all right, we're just going to meter this off the crowd's response. And people would just scream, and whoever screamed louder for the beat, that person won. That was it. And the whole place was shaking. You know, it's just, I think.
So it turned out to be incredibly interactive.
Yeah. And I paid everyone. And at the end, I was left with like $200 of like grueling work. And I was like, at some point, it's like, this is more like, you know, I guess if I didn't pay anyone, but I you know, as an artist, you want to pay people, right? Because you know what it's like not to be paid.
Yeah. So you made it happen.
Because oftentimes artists don't get paid for their work. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was crazy. And
how old were you when that happened?
I was probably 20, 21.
Okay.
Yeah, it was wild, dude. Yeah, first ever MPC beat battle. Now they have them, but we were the first to ever do it. And Nuyorican Poets Cafe in Lower East Side. Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, you know, the innovation is strong in this one.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny is like, yeah, this thing just keeps carrying over to like whatever I end up kind of doing.
Is that a surprise to you that it would carry over?
Not really, because like everything's connected, right? Like all the stuff I learned in Chinese medicine, actually all the stuff I learned in photography applied in Chinese medicine.
Oh, good God. Really?
Because you're dealing with people. And when you photograph someone, they're not comfortable in front of a camera.
No.
And so you have to.
Well, some people are, but they're unusual.
They're usually professionals and they've been there so many times. But when you're doing portraits of people and, you know, you go to some beautiful place and they don't really know you, you don't know them. And there's this trust you have to earn very quickly to let them become themselves. And when you interview a patient, you need similar skill sets. And also, I don't know, you could take something like the tongue. Someone sticks out their tongue. And the color of the coating looks one way. But then I know about lighting and I know how lighting affects color. And I'm like, oh, and look up. And I'm like, this is a tungsten light, which is yellow. So if the tongue is looking yellow, this is obviously a false positive, right? Because it's the light. The light is making the coat look one way, right? So then, you know, obviously with blue light, you would see the true color. And so like understanding lighting and what your colors you're looking at or the color of someone's skin. So these like understanding lighting, understanding people. And back then used to have film. So you would look at each photo under a loop and you would pick one. And what you're doing there is you're studying detail and you're studying emotions on people's faces. And it could be from one thing to another thing to another thing. And you're just like, you're trying to find the emotion, you're trying to find the detail. And you're supposed to inspect people when they come in. Who are they? What's their shen? I mean, that's like studying under the loop for each. I mean, all these things just carry over, right? Everything you learn in one thing can find its place in another. And even in technology where you think everything is technical and there's a bunch of like linear, dry people, it's full of artistic. It's not. Even the coders I work with, there's so much nonlinear creativity happening.
And they're people. You're just, and regardless of the context, you're working with people and problems and responses to problems. I spent a little time in tech back in the 80s and early 90s before I went to acupuncture school. And I found my way into it by accident because I could like figure out how to use word processing programs and stuff. And I had a knack for talking to people and teaching them. So I ended up as like a computer trainer in the late 80s. Later, which was a big thing back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you could hang with people and be comfortable with their discomfort, you could teach them something. Like get them to loosen up and laugh and make a few mistakes and see what happened. And, oh, well, it does this. It's like, oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it? Cool. What else can you use that for? It was like really fun. I think it helped me with Chinese medicine later on.
Right.
And then I got into all kinds of other stuff. But one of the things that I realized I could do, or that I did in the computer world, is I helped people solve problems that they couldn't solve on their own using a technology that they didn't understand. That was my job. I couldn't code. If you put a gun to my head. My brain doesn't work that way, but I can work with people and help them solve their problems using that tool. So now, years later, I'm an acupuncturist. What do?
Yeah, exactly.
I help people solve problems that they can't solve on their own using a technology that they don't understand. I've got the same job.
Yeah. And
right? It's just, it's morphed, it's different, but there's that thread that connects.
And I'll create one more thread, which is all the diagnostic and pattern systems and identifying an issue, a problem with someone, process of elimination, patterns that we use in Chinese medicine for, diagnostic differentiation and all these things apply when solving problems in technology. Completely. Solving problems with people in the company. It's not like you have all sorts of personalities, all sorts of people that are working for you that you want to keep working for you, or mostly. Some you don't. You have to let go. But generally, but that's also another thing, right? Like, where is the problem coming from? Okay, it's this person, their work ethic, their culture is not the right fit, and it's starting to deteriorate our culture, right? So understanding, okay, here's the problem and here's how to treat it, right? And you work with different people to get them to level up, or you have to drain some fire and get them out. Exactly.
Yes.
Or you gotta do some things that drain fire, right? Just get them out.
Yeah, get them out.
Yeah,
for sure. So when did you study acupuncture before you went to Taiwan?
I did. I studied first at PCOM in New York City, and then I felt, because I told you I was kind of on the spiritual path at that point, and I felt like, I should move somewhere where, because in New York City, it's you push and you become hard, and you become hyper aware of your environment, your surroundings, because growing up there, that's kind of the culture. It's instilled in you. Your parents are both working, and you distrust first.
You got to be street smart.
Yeah. So the train comes, I was told, when you look both ways across the street, I don't look both ways. When the train comes, I look over my shoulders because someone's going to push me. That's the psychology. Yeah. Because there's people that would do that push you into the train tracks.
Wow.
So
Powerful.
I would look over my shoulders to make no one's going to push me into the train tracks. And it's this kind of thing you grow up with. And what it does is it helps you. And again, we could say these are bad things, but at the end of the day, it becomes a tool, because when you're working with people and you're trying to identify a problem, what is really, at the end of the day, what is New York psychology? It's identifying and spotting a threat all the time. Even if you're off, you think you're chilling, you think you're relaxed, never relaxed. You're always you have the spidey senses on all the time. That's how you grow up. And so there's this thing where those things can either be good or they can be bad. And when you put it in the positive sense of finding a problem in a person, those spidey senses are very useful, right? So I think what's the problem, what's the threat helps you identify that in a person and a disease and a thing that you're trying to treat.
What's the problem? What's the threat?
Here's the problem, because that's the threat. You're always looking for a threat.
Wow, I had not thought about that.
You sigh constantly. There's a background operating system. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a background operating system of identifying people and who is a potential threat. I don't know how to explain that. If you sit on a train, you always look. You look around you. Who's this? Who's that? And you're not thinking about it. It's on autopilot. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. You feel everything. You feel out your environment, because the environment is dangerous. Not all, it's not like you walk around with anxiety. You don't. It's just on, and you become hard. And that's just what it's like to grow up in New York City. And when I lived in New York City, it was a wilder place. It was definitely different. 42nd Street, Times Square. Was
not like today.
There was no Lion King. I'll put it that way.
No Lion King.
There was no Lion King. It was wild. New York City was wild. Harlem was wild. It was during the crack epidemic and all these. New York City was not a fun place. that it is today. I think it's a lot safer and people can walk around freely. There are parts of Brooklyn that had like, you would only talk about them like they were folklore. You would never go there, like Red Hook. Now it's like, oh my God, I got my loft in Red Hook, right? Like it's a different, and that's just the city. The city's always changing.
It's always changing. And
the neighborhoods I knew that were like all Hasidim, in the Lower East Side are now full of bars. But it's always like, the city has always been like that. The neighborhoods just shift and change and it's dynamic. Yeah.
it's dynamic. I mean, New York's probably the most dynamic city, well, for sure in the United States, probably one of the most dynamic in the world.
Yeah.
That's why it's got its reputation.
I mean, like Hell's Kitchen, I'm not even sure they call it Hell's Kitchen anymore, but it was all Irish, There's no Irish people there anymore.
My brother went to Juilliard for his master's degree.
Wow. That's amazing.
And he moved from St. Louis, Missouri, the suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri, to Hell's Flippin' Kitchen. The stories that he would tell me about, like walking from the train back to his apartment, it's like, bro, I don't know how you do this.
It's crazy.
But, he was dedicated to learning his craft, and that's where he had to live because that's where he could afford to live.
And it's exciting, right? I mean, it's exciting. As a young kid, it's exciting to navigate.
Yeah, you could call it exciting, but he got shaken down every night on the walk home.
Yeah, Hell's Kitchen was one of those places you generally avoided too.
Yeah, he lived there. Back in the day. So I heard a little bit about that. It makes you into something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it made him into partly the person that he became.
Of course, yeah.
Because
you have to learn new skill sets,
mm-hmm.
or you have to take skill sets that you have and reapply them. And then in that same sense of taking that New York conditioning.
Yeah. Develops your Shen, doesn't it?
Of finding like threats on autopilot. Because anything can happen. So you're like, who's that? Who's this? Who's there? Who's there? What are they doing? How close are they behind me? What do they want? Because that's the thing.
Right. Where are their hands?
Like, that's the first question someone asks you. So what do you want? That's you don't, like, that's like, no one's nice. Like, oh, do you need any help? It's like, so it's like, what the F do you want? I don't know you. Right. Like, so.
Yeah.
And again, that could be used negatively or in the sense like you can turn it around and it becomes a positive tool for.
So this is kind of how you got your Gong Fu training in a sense. I mean, not fighting Gong Fu, but like a kind of psycho-emotive Gong Fu that helps you as a practitioner.
Yeah. And I think that being on that spiritual path and being aware that this could be used for other reasons, for other purposes.
Where did you move to?
I moved to the Bay Area. I moved to San Francisco because, that's, I don't know, seemed like a great place. And I kind of left this out. But when I was 19, 19, sorry, I got my heart broken and I couldn't sit still. And I just got in my car and I drove for a year. I drove, there's no cell phone. So I just looked on a map and I just drove for a year. And I would just like find a place and I'm going to stay there. And then I meet someone there and they would tell me about another place. I was just following breadcrumbs.
Uh-huh.
I was just following breadcrumbs and
you're on a walkabout.
And it meant that like, he just didn't know. I would just roll into a town. I didn't know who I would meet or what would happen next. So like I'd go into like a Barnes and Noble and I just hear this voice and I'd be like, I need to go closer to that person. I don't know who they are. And then all of a sudden we're chatting and I'm like sleeping in their living room, right? Like, because they gave me their couch and their roommates and, everyone's just like, and then they'd like tell me about all these other places I got to go. And like, I'd go to one of them or two of them and that would just lead me to the next place. And that was a pretty wild experience.
So where did you finish your acupuncture training?
Yeah, I finished it at ACTCM and I knew by my second year in, I was going to study abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to for like, I think there was some, obviously I think I just wanted to live abroad. And two, I think there was some part of me that was motivated to learn more than just this. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to have an edge, I guess. And so I wanted to level up.
Well, given what you've already...
And I was like, okay, how do I do that?
given what you've already told me about how you've been working your way through the world and through life, like edge, yeah, like where's the edge, the very sharp edge?
Yeah.
It's exciting there.
So then I actually applied to Zhejiang University. I was going to do my doctorate in Hangzhou. And a good friend of mine, Eric Brand, suggested maybe I should look at Taiwan as well. And so I started to talk to different people living out there. And I decided, no, let me try Taiwan. It sounded really attractive. So once I went, I was like, I was so in love with Taiwan, and
it's a pretty special place.
The culture and the food. And yeah, it's so special.
When were you there? When did you land in Taiwan?
Oh God, what was that, 2009? Yeah. And, I didn't speak any Chinese really. So I went to school.
Where'd you go?
Language school. I went to Taida.
Oh, Taida, yeah.
Which is, NTU. And I studied there. And then I went to Shifan Dashui. It was like Taiwan Normal University, NTNU also. I think that's where...
Yeah, Guoyu Zhongxin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I studied there first, those two places. And I think I did another round over at Zhonghua Wenhua. It's like a Chinese cultural university. Me, I was like, I like to try things. I'm like, one place, okay, I understand it. And I went to like NTNU, okay. It's more like cattle that just rush you through. It's just so many people. And then I ended up really enjoying Chinese Culture University because it was a smaller classes, a little more modern and stuff. And yeah, so that's me. I want to sample all the different schools and see which one I really like, I'm an experimenter in that way. And so, yeah, I hopped around different schools. And then, yeah, once my Chinese got proficient, Nigel Wiseman was a huge, huge help to me. He's a Chinese medicine scholar, and he became a friend and a teacher, and he gave me a lot of materials for me to study, which were extracurricular, studying essentially so I could understand medical Chinese, which you're not going to learn in school. And so I did. I studied from his books. And
yes. Well, man, his series of books on learning medical Chinese are excellent.
Yeah. I mean, with that, I was able to start reading texts. I was able to make my way at least through the Chinese medicine portions of working in the hospital, because I could look at the charts and stuff like that. And so that was a huge help for me because, yeah, I had to be in the hospital. I had shifts where...
In which hospital was this again?
I studied in a few places. There was a clinic in Gongguan with a practitioner. His name is Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee.
And a lot of people pass through Dr. Lee's office.
I've been through Dr. Lee's office.
And so I started there, but I also wanted to work in kind of a hospital environment.
Yeah. You know what? I think if you're going to study Chinese medicine in Taiwan, you have to go through Dr. Lee's office at some point.
Yeah. And you have there's a book there with everyone's photo and stuff. So, and they so you're like, I know that person, So, and sometimes that happens, you meet someone who's like, I saw you in Dr. Lee's book, there's this book of people who've been through there. So, yeah.
So you were in hospitals in the Taipei area?
Yeah. Yeah. In Taipei and Kaohsiung, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I spent that time just studying as much as I could. And, during my time in the hospital, I was looking at the workflows, and I had my iPad with me, and I was like, this could be so much better. This could be so much faster. What are we doing? And we have all these diagnostic patterns, and they're repeatable. These are patterns, and we ask similar questions, and those questions get only so many responses, and we have a decision tree, and it points us in one direction. So I just saw this keywording system that could just not have to write all the notes out, where you just tap the signs and symptoms that are going to end up leading, and we just auto-generate the text, and that became unified practice. Of course, which is an electronic health record system for Chinese medicine, and was the first of its kind. I mean, I think there were some other stuff on CD-ROM, but we were the first to do it on a mobile device. There was There's nothing like it at all. And so that was the first.
And this is like, let me guess, this is around 210, 211, I think is when I first started seeing it.
It was like 2012 or maybe. Yeah, maybe we said, yeah, I think it was like 2012. We had like some early versions of the software, you know.
Because I remember looking at it very early on. And I had just come to St. Louis in like 2009 and very quickly was trying to automate my office, right? Because it just makes life easier. You know, I still have
Yeah.
you know, I had a computer background. I didn't make a EMR like you did, but I tried to use the tools that were around.
Yeah. And you know what, and that's why I got so like fired up. I was like, there's nothing for us. Everything was like Dr. Chrono or, you know, and that was getting expensive for a lot of people, for acupuncturists, you know.
And it wasn't built for our practices.
No, there was nothing for us then.
I was running stuff in a FileMaker database for a long time because I could kind of
And that's one of the things where like,
structure it the way I wanted.
it got me so fired up because like, there's nothing for us. I need to create something. I felt the sense of urgency. And everyone around me is like, well, acupuncturists aren't going to pay. They're not making a lot of money and no one's going to buy it. No one's going to do it. But I didn't listen.
Good.
So I was pretty determined. You know, we built the world's first mobile EHR for Chinese medicine, and that was a lot of fun. And there was so many. I'd never owned a software company. I'd never ran a team of engineers and customer support and sales and all these other things. So I cut my teeth on that, right? I learned something, and so to my surprise, as much as I loved working with people in the clinic, I fell in love with solving problems with technology. Just fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of these things where, oh, why didn't I know this 20 years ago?
Technology was not where it was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
You couldn't have done it 20 years ago. It was a different world.
Yeah. But like all these skill sets I had, they just fit so perfectly into doing this. And I just fell in love with it and fell in love with the problem solving. And I felt like, okay, I'm giving back to my community and I'm going to do the best I can. And at some point, you know, I was ready to do something different. It's not like I was tired of working on unified practice. I think everyone has this idea that the founders are like, they have it made, right? They're the owners, so they pay themselves the most and they have all these
No, they don't.
perks. And no, it's the opposite. Everyone else has a vacation. I don't. I get paid.
You get paid last.
For what I get paid last.
You get paid last.
Because I'm not going to miss payroll and lose my customer support team. So either I don't get paid or I pay myself so little. I struggled for so long where I paid myself the minimum because I kept putting it back into the product. I kept putting it back into the company.
Yeah.
And so because I cared more about that than I cared about getting paid an extra $1,000 or $2,000, that would have helped me tremendously because I was going into debt, you know, personally.
Are you a California licensed acupuncturist who accepts insurance or wants to? Are you satisfied with your current reimbursements? You could be earning more. With the right support, joining top insurance networks such as Cigna is simple. AcuCare was started 30 years ago by acupuncturists for acupuncturists. AcuCare has already negotiated top reimbursement rates. With AcuCare, you'll spend more time with your patients and less time battling insurance paperwork. What do their members say? Here are a few words from Tara Diaz, LAC. Thanks to AcuCare, I am now successfully in network with several major insurance providers, which has significantly expanded my patient base and improved my practice's financial stability. Visit acucare.com and let them help you get in network with Cigna and other companies. Get paid what you deserve. Visit acucare.com and save $100 on your credentialing application fee. Use the code PROSPER. That code again, PROSPER. Visit acucare.com to get higher reimbursement rates and a credentialing company you can trust. It's so interesting. So many people think that entrepreneurs, they're kind of dirty. They're like in it for the money. Like, oh, these guys, they're making this thing, but they're in it for the money. They're at the edge of a thing. They're just looking to make a bunch of coin.
Yeah, this evil corporate people, whatever.
And the thing is, the thing about most entrepreneurs is, number one, they fail. So there's that.
Yep, I've done that.
Okay, so you're facing that. But the other thing is, as I understand entrepreneurs, is they have an itch to scratch. They see something, they see a potential for something that doesn't exist, and they want to do it. It's like, oh, I could do that. Like you and your photography. Oh, I could do that. I'm interested. I could do that. I'm going to hang out with people that'll teach me, and I'll make it work. Or they want to build something. Here you are working in Taiwan. You go, oh, I have this vision. This thing could work. All right, my people, they're not going to spend acupuncture support. Is that true? I don't know. Let's go find out. Right? But the thing is,
I didn't believe it.
Most entrepreneurs don't. I mean, you might get a payday, but it's not the money that tends to motivate them. It's there's this thing and I just want to make it.
And you want people to be happy. It's like, and there's so many people who want different things too. It's like you can't make the product you can't make everyone happy.
No, you can't.
And one of the things I learned.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And it's like, okay, what are we going to do to help grow the business so that we can continue innovating and giving back to the product, to the people, right? So the money was not the motivator. Although, of course, I think there is that fantasy like, oh man, I want to be like working from the beach. And, you think that like, okay, I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to get paid, but that doesn't always pan out the way you think it will. I decided, okay, it's like having a farm, but never getting to taste the carrots you're growing. Or like getting a few shavings and you're just like, oh, and that was my motivation to sell. It's like, okay, I'm ready to do the next thing. And that's kind of what I'm doing now, right? So with Handcraft Health. So I had this vision for how else can I help practitioners earn money? And how can I make
their life easier?
Make it faster, make it easier, reduce friction. Like, and granted, like we made mistakes at Unified Practice where we introduced friction, but I think through, and then try to remove it. And, of course, like nothing went perfect, but we learn from these experiences. Like, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it bigger, better, faster, and make it, the best possible product here.
And you got experience to like, I avoid this, do more of that.
Right. Yeah. So with Unified Practice, again, I wanted to finally feel like, okay, all this, these 16-hour days, because I would be up at 6:30 and I wouldn't stop till like 9:30 p.m. And this is happening every day. I was working weekends. And so you put in a lot. And when we sold, I tried not to do the math because it wouldn't have added up, right? It would have been like, I could have had maybe just a regular job and, maybe it would have been, close, but it all happened at once.
But you wouldn't have had the experience of creating what you created. You wouldn't have had the experience of taking your vision and learning all kinds of new skills of running a business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
To make it happen. And that, it's good to get a payday. There's a great quote attributed to Walt Disney. He supposedly said, we don't make movies to make money. We make money so we can make movies.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like, I've got this thing I want to do. Well, we need to get some money to keep the thing going, because that's like the chi that keeps the thing going. You're not in it for the money. You need the money so you can make the dream. So you can
absolutely, yeah,
do the work that you see as possible.
And, I think I learned at an early age, because I think going back, growing up in New York City and then moving to Long Island is a very different culture. And in Long Island, there's a lot of wealthy people, particularly where I lived. And I would go to visit them in their homes, and there wasn't happiness and money weren't one-to-one. There was, I'd say, the majority of people that I interacted with had more problems in their home, but they had a lot of money. And so I learned at a very early age, money wasn't going to make happiness, right? Happiness comes from somewhere else. It can reduce a lot of stress. It can introduce stress, it can do all sorts of things. So I think, money as a motivator, And again, like this new company, me and the first person who invested in me, Peter Ungriano, he's an amazing individual. And he took the bet on Unified and helped me become a better leader. And he's doing that again. We both took everything that, we made Unified and we put it back into Handcraft Health, which is what we're doing now.
What is Handcraft Health?
Yeah.
What is this? What are you doing? Now what? Now what?
Yeah. Well, taking, again, I think this theme of trying to do something for the first time, we were particularly excited by AI. And this is before it was generally available. We were working on stuff before the Chat GPT thing and where AI was like readily available for people to leverage. And when it changed a lot. And again, looking at technology and how I can help those around me, particularly in Chinese medicine, I got really excited by this idea. And so we decided to build a platform that is an essentially AI-powered dispensary where you can do all your custom compounding, select from over 25,000 products to create these beautiful healthcare packages.
25,000?
Yeah. So like, how if you need some like ready-made products, you generally have to go one place, right? And then you have to order them. And then you need your custom compounding for dispensary stuff, and you have to go to another place. And so you have these generally two different places, even if they're in the same website, the same company doing it, they're generally like, oh, your e-commerce and you've got your dispensary. We put those together into one experience, and we leverage AI to make writing healthcare packages in seconds. And so using AI as an assistant, and not just for helping you, brainstorm and pick the best products for your patients, but actually like hyper personalizing the AI so it understands you, the way you practice, understands your patients, all their background, all the issues, all the potential contraindications between the drugs or other supplements they're taking and the things you're potentially prescribing, and helps you understand more about like how these things interact that you might not have known before. And the more I use it, the more I learn. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that, right? Like, there were certain things I might have remembered for like drug-herb interaction, but other things I either didn't learn or that are not tied to modern research or that were found out after I had studied this for a long time ago, right? Not long ago.
Right. Knowledge is updated all the time.
It becomes essentially like a clinical buddy. And I think working in Taiwan and being in the hospital environment, you're working with so many people. And I guess it's so stimulating to work with different departments. And then I think being in the clinic in the States, it's often just you. And you can reference a book really quick or go online, but you don't have always a sounding board that you can talk to. So one of the big things we did was to make sure we had like a clinical assistant you could discuss with. But then it's like, okay, how do we make sure that we're referencing? How can we trust the data? How can we trust the responses? And that's where, I leveraged.
AI is famous for hallucinating.
Absolutely. And that's where I leveraged the relationships I had in the past. And I reached out to John O'Connor over at Eastland Press, and we've worked together for many years. It's like, hey, I'm working on this thing. And he was all about it. And so Eastland Press and us worked together to create this model that we reference, fact check, before we even give responses, so that we're referencing reliable data and not just from one or two books. He gave us the catalog. So we are working with the Eastland Press catalog. We're working with, scholars, and started engaging with like Dan Bensky and Nigel Wiseman, which I obviously have known for many years, and really leveraging these relationships where the trust is already there. And they trust that I'll do the right thing, because I did the right thing with Unified Practice. I didn't just, there's a lot of people that were just taking other people's data, and we didn't do that. At Unified Practice, we had a data reference inside the app experience, and we paid all of those scholars. We paid them. We didn't steal the data, right? We paid them for their work. And so I created trust, and I wasn't going to let them down. So I wanted to, work with people and make sure that we did the same thing again and that we're working together to create the best responses and so that people can trust what we're doing, right, with AI. So so that's
Wow. Kenan, I can see how this is another iteration of what you'd done previously, right? You're building some knowledge, you're building some reference materials into unified practice.
yeah.
Kind of AI before there was AI, more like a database than an AI, right?
Yeah, we didn't think that.
And now that we have tools like AI, you can take that original idea of yours
Yeah.
and just light it on fire and make it accessible,
Yeah, and it's so amazing and learn from it. Sometimes you're in a rush and you don't know what to do and you have a super complex case and you're like 98% sure of what to do. And so you enter some of the signs and symptoms, and you're like, what's your perspective on this? And you're like, that's exactly what I was thinking. And it gives you that extra confidence to go, I'm going in the right direction. Or to go, and this is one of the best things about AI is it sometimes floats something you weren't thinking, but it branches you into a whole other area of thought. And you're like, you know what? And you still spin your creative wheels and get your own ideas, but it leads you it takes you in a direction where you're like, okay, that's interesting. Let me give that a try. Or in my case, when I set up my model, I told it that I had an interest and that I like to do functional medicine. And so it started giving me functional medicine responses as well. And so I started learning about stuff I didn't have the time to learn, or learning about supplements where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to combine this with some vitamin D and lion's mane as well. And it's good for the patient and it helps you earn. And going back to that, there's such little time when you're running a clinic. So how do we reduce the friction to where we can free up more of the practitioner's time, help them, educate them in the process, and create recurring revenue? Because the most painful thing about going on vacation, I think every single practitioner can relate to this, is when you take vacation, the days that you're not in clinic are the days you're losing income, right? So it's so much more painful than, I don't know, if you owned a pizzeria, right? You're still going to sling pizza on your vacation.
Right? You got to plan for it. You got to plan for your downtime.
Yeah, it's really painful. And so it's finding ways that you can continue to earn in the clinic without being there all the time. Right. And that was one of the things we wanted to do with Handcraft Health is so we created a portal for the patients where they can just continue to reorder without having to have any friction for themselves, right? Of having to go back to the clinic, go buy the stuff at the clinic or have the clinic ordered. If you want the patient taking this on our platform, you just set a refill rule and the patients can continue to reorder and reorder and reorder. So, and the practitioners earn, right? They can choose their margin and the less they have a 30% margin. And so for every $10 retail price, they're making $3. So if they say, hey, $2 is fine, then they're extending a 10% discount to their patients. And so the patients are incentivized to reorder, right? And so because they're getting a discount.
And it's easy, like you're saying, frictionless.
And it's easy. And it's so you don't want to introduce any friction for the patient to get what they need, even if they don't have time to come into the clinic. Well, whether you want them to come or not, let's not put any barriers between them continuing treatment and not, right? Because, especially if you think they're not going to overdose on lion's mane and vitamin D. And if you have a pretty mild formula, right? Like a Guepitang or something, or it's if you think it's pretty safe, you can put refills for a year or unlimited. So it's totally up to the practitioner.
I mean, kind of like a doctor would. You can refill this twice.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Make some money. Things get delivered to the patient. Less you having to buy stuff and stock it and, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing that I'm really fascinated about here is that you've got this intelligence that's also built into it. I love your phrasing. It's a clinical buddy.
Yeah.
Because I think about hanging out with my pals that jibber jab about Chinese medicine. I always learn great things from them. It's I kind of knew that, but I didn't know that. Or I knew that, but I hadn't thought about that in this situation. Oh, maybe that's worth exploring. Having having something that will interact with you. Like I kind of know who you are and what you like and where your mind is and maybe where your blind spots are too. Hey, AI, show me what's in the rearview mirror that I can't see.
Absolutely. And you can ask these questions also without feeling like oftentimes if we have a question that might be too simple, I mean, you wouldn't put it in like a, I don't know, acupuncturist for Facebook or something. It's like, it's not a safe place. Sometimes there's very strong and heated opinions. And it's like, okay, you don't want to post maybe a simple question that, I don't know, you think people might judge you for.
Oh, of course people will judge you. Are you kidding? People go on Facebook to judge people.
And so it's actually like a state, of course. That's why I never post on there because it's just like, I'm not.
Well, here's.
You don't want to be judged. And it's like, you know what? If you have this intelligent thing that you're able, and you trust, the data that we're referencing, and if you studied from Eastland Press books, you would trust the data.
It's pretty reliable.
Right. And if we don't have it there, we're still referencing other sources, very specific about and fact checking. So there's a bunch of stuff happening in the background with the AI. It's not just spitting out an answer. So on our side,
how do you do the fact checking? How's that work?
Yeah. So the AI has a response and then there's an agent. Essentially AI right now in its current state, I'd say it's like the age of agents. Essentially, you create agents for each particular function. That agent has a very specific job. And you train the agent to be the fact checker. Then you train another agent to be like the acupuncturist and the specialist in acupuncture. And you feed it and train it on acupuncture data. This is data coming from other practitioners. It's data coming from source textbooks. You're feeding it structured data. So its only job is to be the best possible acupuncturist. And so you train all of these things, and then you have a manager that sits in the middle and manages it, gets all the information, and then feeds it. So as you get these responses, there's an agent that's involved in fact checking, saying, is this correct? And it references it against the Eastland Press data and other data sources to go, okay, this is good. And that avoids us from having these hallucinations. Of course, it's never 100%, but again, with any AI. So if you think something looks off, you should trust it or ask the agent again, are you sure about this? Right?
That's a great question to ask AI. I've done that.
Will run the query again. You can keep pushing it. You just keep pushing it. If you think something's off, you can just keep pushing it or try to reference it somewhere else if you feel like, I'm not sure about that. And so I think,
But what you're doing is building in that checks and balances, let's call it.
Exactly. And the thing is it takes longer and nobody likes that. But it's like, we have to make a decision of whether we're going to have a fact checker, something to make sure that we're tracking the sources we are, and also, making sure that the data is reliable. Yeah, it adds some seconds to the response, but
it adds some.
Yeah, but people want it
Kenan, you just said it adds some seconds.
It does, just some seconds. Yeah, but
seconds.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the wait a minute. What's the complaint here now?
Well, that's one of the powers of AI, and this is one of the things we're doing. You can upload your SOAP note, and you could upload a year's worth of SOAP notes, and it would process it in milliseconds.
Milliseconds. All right.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that excites us because, again, these agents can do so much. The agents that we're working with right now, we're not ready to release them, but they will do amazing things like creating diet plans and exercise plans and sending them right to the patient. And you just have to review them. And that's what I would have done. Or you make some adjustments and you're add this thing or be more specific about that. And we regenerate a PDF and we can send that right to the patient. So there's so many things that we can do to kind of do the things you would have done already, right? Understand you, your tone of voice and how you would explain things. And AI can do this. It can take what would sound like you.
Yes, I've found that it can.
Yeah.
I taught AI to write in my voice.
Yep, exactly.
And not because I use it to have it write everything, because I don't, because I like to write. So I don't want it to write everything because I like to write. But there are certain things that are very simple that I don't need to write. I'm happy to have AI write it, but I wanted to write it in my voice. So I spent an afternoon asking it how to teach me to teach it to write in my voice, which it did. Here's the very weird thing about AI. And I hear you use the term clinical buddy, and like asking it questions that you wouldn't ask in Facebook where people are going to judge you and everything else. AI is weirdly empathetic, like more empathetic than most people I know.
And it isn't trying to influence you to think the way they think either. It's kind of just giving you objective information too, right? Like,
I think so. I hope so.
I know if I were to talk to a friend about like TCM dermatology, I would be squeezing in all my ideologies about things where it's like, oh, here's the data, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's not...
Which isn't necessarily bad, but it is just kind of saying like, well, here it is, right? Here's what I found.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a safe space in a way. And I love that about it.
It's in some ways, it is the best part of what humans might be capable of on a good day with some cultivation.
Absolutely. And I feel like there's also this ability, like there are limits to human like cognitive load too.
Oh, for sure.
And I think one of the great things, and you see this a lot because it's so good at it, is summarizations, right? And you'll see this, I think, if you've downloaded some recent version of the latest Apple OS, Mac OS or whatever, you'll see in the email, you like summarize. It's like people just like, give me the bullet points. Help me understand clearly what's happening, and taking large amounts of data and being able to condense it into like a summary that you can understand. You can take a long, complex legal document to 10 years of soap notes and understand what's happening and query the data in a way that you couldn't have done before. And we just are so excited by the technology, and the pace at which it's changing keeps us constantly looking towards the future and like, well, what can we do with this and how can we leverage this? And it gets better at a rate that I think is sometimes hard to keep up with, in a way where like, I don't know, when you look at the stock market, like everything's changing so fast. If you're looking into what's happening with AI and the new models and what they're good at and, all the nuances within the industry, the wheels never stop turning. You're like, okay, wow, this is crazy. We can do this now. All right, or you could do it at a cost that you wouldn't have been able to do before, which is a big help to like anyone trying to build a product and support people, because whether people know it or not, there's lots of costs, right? It's a lot of costs to operating a system like this.
And a huge amount of power and energy and infrastructure and...
Yeah.
It's a little hard for me to understand. I hear it takes tremendous electricity. There are data centers that are currently being built that are, I can't quite wrap my mind around what these things are, other than they're going to be able to take the kind of magic that we have with AI right now. And I don't have a bad imagination. I can imagine things pretty well, but it's hard to see for me, it's hard to see into the future with AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think in part because I'm in my 60s, I'm not in my 20s. When you're younger, it's easier, I think, in some ways to take whatever the zeitgeist or the edge of technology is. It's like you can taste it in a way. You grow up in it, and so your nervous system is kind of attuned to it. I'm older, so my nervous system isn't so attuned to it. But I have great hope for the future. I'm actually optimistic more than not optimistic. I'm curious to know your take on the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think life is full of dichotomies in the same way that we talk about in Chinese medicine. And the most sensitive people sometimes have the hardest exteriors. The people with like the small, kind of soft exteriors tend to have like an extremely like hard interior. If I really, you know what I'm saying? I think a macrocosm, microcosm. In the way that it will be used for good, it will be used for terrible things. As much as I'd like to not think that, I feel like isn't that the reality we live in? There's always these positive and negative forces creating some balance between each other. And you just want the positive forces to be stronger than the negative ones. And that's the goal. Like, how do we make sure? But I think in some ways, isn't that the yin yang thing, right? It's like
100%.
one thing is chasing the other, one thing is pushing or pulling on the other, right? It's like, okay, you talked about the problem with energy. Okay, we would say this is a bad thing, or consuming energy, it's costly, it's hard on the environment. But what is that going to do? In that negative situation is going to push people to be motivated to find technologies that can process even better than our current technology while using less power.
Or technologies that bring us more power. There's a nuclear company right now.
Exactly.
That their fuel is nuclear waste. The stuff that we thought would be around for tens of thousands of years and poisonous and dangerous and destroying the world, they're looking at ways of taking that stuff and using it in the next generation nuclear reactors to extract power, using waste. Previous waste. So
it's always this thing, right? You have this thing where it's like, oh man, there's this terrible situation, and it motivates people to push towards positivity.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you're right.
And vice versa, right? There's sometimes like too much positive stuff, and then people are just trying to drop negative energy to just create conflict and war because things are too quiet. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't have the answers. I just have observations. I'm just like, and I feel like this can be also applied to like my New York City experience and my Long Island experience, because like in New York City, there's so much trouble around you. You avoid it. And you do a pretty good job at avoiding it. You know which street to go down, people to avoid, and you avoid trouble because there's trouble all around you. When I moved to Long Island, nothing's happening. Like all the kids are trying to create trouble. Like they want something to happen. They want to go smash some windows and take a BB gun and start shooting squirrels. There's just nothing to do. And so I don't know what it is, but there's this thing where you have this like beautiful, peaceful town, right? With like people just trying to cause trouble. And you have this super chaotic place with full of trouble, and everyone's trying to avoid trouble, you know? And it's like, so it's almost like these things they propel each other. So like applied to AI, I mean, should we expect something different?
Probably not. No, you know what? I don't think so.
I don't know that this reality has that. I don't think it's in our reality. I think but we will, the only goal is to just have positive outcomes, right? I think.
Work toward them.
Exactly. At least that's what we want to create around us, right? But then again, you're in.
You know, it's interesting.
Long Island, and it's a peaceful town, and people just want trouble.
We're also in yin-yang land, so anything that's arising on one side of whatever complementary relationship, it can't not bring the other along with it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like you say, they're chasing each other. You know, I think, and it's so easy to look in terms of cause and effect, which is always troublesome because now you're smack dab in the middle of duality and there's a good and a bad, and, you know, we're going to smash the hell out of the thing that we think is bad. People that can see a little bit further and recognize the linking of the two sides. Like, okay, I can try to smash this, but what's the second order consequence that's going to show up as a result? If you understand a little bit about those permutations of yin and yang, you recognize you don't get one without the other. So how do you work with that dynamic that we're getting both simultaneously?
Well, you know, it's interesting. It comes back to the beginning of our conversation, which is like, how do you take the untrusting, guarded all the time, spidey senses on, the world is out to get you, and turn that into a thing that you use to help heal people? Right? It's taking that thing that would have been, I guess, negative by many perspectives, right? Survival tools, right? In a particular environment. And then saying, hey, that's not going to be the person driving the car today. That's going to go here in the backseat. It's going to be the backseat driver. And it's going to give me information that now I can reuse or repurpose these things that were, I guess, considered maybe, especially when I moved to California, everyone's like, why are you talking so fast? Like, I talk slower now, It's like, why, what's wrong with you? Why are you so edgy? I was like, I felt so relaxed. I don't know what people were talking about, but they, I'm chilling. Like, oh no, you're so aggressive right now. I just think, you learn to calibrate, and then you learn to take these things and apply them in positive senses, right? I think that's that shift. That's that transformation. Okay, here's this negative thing, and then we're transforming it into something positive, right?
Because they're connected anyway.
They're connected anyway. Yeah.
They're connected anyway. Let's just lean on that connection.
Yeah, and through those.
And I think that being able to see, recognize and see that they're connected. These are not two separate things struggling. I mean, they are at one level.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're also each chasing each other's tail, each calling the other into a rising, and being able to embrace that, both and, which is damn hard in my experience.
Absolutely. I think that's part of that spiritual.
But it's the work.
Journey, right? It's like you can hate these things about yourself. And I did at some point, why can't I trust anything? And I moved to Mill Valley, and I'm getting out of my car, and I'm looking over my shoulder, like a deer is going to come and attack me, right? What's going to happen in Mill Valley, right? But it's still there. And it's why am I, and so you start to create an internal war with yourself about who you are, instead of, I think, transforming that into something where it's actually these things that I think are so bad about me, right? That I'm defensive and I don't trust things and whatever, can actually be used here in this particular scenario. But it's hard to know that, which is why they have spiritual teachers and all these other people to take that outside perspective and be okay, hey, you got to change, and this is what you need to do. And you need to create that support around you with people who can be those outside perspectives. Now, we were talking about that with AI, right? That's another way of doing that. And there's also, in whatever it might be, like a medical question or whatever, it's still some kind of feedback that comes from an outside source, right? On the spiritual side, people generally will trust a spiritual teacher or not trust a spiritual teacher, right? But it's one of these things where it's okay, someone went through something I didn't, and they're going to show me where I'm weak and where I'm strong. And then you get to transform that and take that opportunity to do that transformation, right?
Yeah. And we all got it.
But I think so much of this Western thinking is transformation is getting rid of one thing and being another.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And I think based on our conversation right now, it's not that. It's taking the thing you already are.
Yeah.
And repurposing it.
Yeah. I love that.
It's not, you're not going to get rid of yourself.
I really love it. It's repurposing it.
You're not going to kill some part of yourself. You have to just make it.
You got to bring it along.
You got to bring it along and say, hey, you have a new job now.
Yeah. I love it.
Right.
And I appreciate what you say too about a hard exterior, soft interior. Or maybe there's a opposite, soft exterior, but you get inside, it's you're not getting it all the way. Forget it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, yeah, sorry.
And whichever one you got, whatever you got, that's just what you got to work with. You get to develop the other piece. It's both and. We all have some kind of something.
Right. It's
not throw it away. Bring it along.
And it's one of these things, you see these big bodybuilders and they're just pumping, they're getting bigger and bigger and they're getting more intimidating, but they're actually super sensitive people, right? And then you see these people that are oh my God, he's so sweet and nice and whatever. And you actually talk to them, there's so much anger and rage inside. It's just but that is the yin and yang thing. It's the thing, it's the compensation, it's all these things where you have this.
Totally.
Right. So I think, that's why it's always so hard to judge people, right? You see someone who's out there, oh, look at that meathead. And, actually they're super sensitive people. And this is their way of protecting themselves and putting out an image of just protect that sensitivity by putting out a harder exterior, right? You know what I mean? I think that's also, I mean, nothing's fixed, but we're talking about the concept of like yin and yang and these dichotomies of
Yes. Unescapable too.
the reality.
Unescapable and unavoidable. So let's embrace it.
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh, Kenan,
Yeah. That was fun.
this is, I feel like this is a good place to put a pin in it, pun intended.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I so appreciate our conversation, and I've come to appreciate entrepreneurs over the years. I used to think entrepreneurs were just greedy bastards. And then I started an acupuncture clinic and realized, oops, maybe I am an entrepreneur. Right? Because you are when you're doing your own thing, right? And
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
again, recognizing for me parts of myself that I didn't like or had a bad opinion of, often because I didn't know those parts that well. I just thought they were wrong, or maybe they were just weak and I didn't know how to toughen them up. So I just decided they were bad or something. But
Right.
it's so wonderful to have the opportunities to take what we don't like or take what isn't working well and figure out how to make it work and
Yeah. Make it your friend.
make it your friend. You know,
Absolutely. Because or it's either that or war. Which one is it? Right? You either want it.
let's go for friendship and like a team of characteristics that together are kind of a superpower. Individually are just fighting, warring factions, but like together,
Right.
maybe there's a way to make it work. I like that.
It's like the X-Men, right? It's like
The X-Men.
Fantastic Four. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or the Umbrella Academy.
And I think, and talking about entrepreneurship, every person who goes to Chinese medicine school and graduates is thrown into entrepreneurship, whether they like it or not. And that's where the friction is.
I agree.
It's like, wait, I didn't do this. I didn't say I want to be an entrepreneur and then go to acupuncture school, right? I went to Chinese medicine. I went to study Chinese medicine because I wanted to help people. And that's what all this technology is about. Like taking away that, like making that road to entrepreneurship less painful.
Less painful. But you know what?
Right? With the EHR tools and making charting easier and scheduling easier, you still got to do it.
But you still got to do it. You got to put your heart in it, and you got to look at the places where you've held yourself back and you've got an attitude of this is bad or that's no good, and recognize the other side of it. And sometimes just let yourself into places that you're just uncomfortable being so that you got more to be with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to do that all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I don't like doing marketing. I just want to work on the product and find cool ways to like help people. I don't like doing budgets. I don't like having to deal and manage developers that are underperforming or, but I think in anything you do, right, there's no like, I mean, there's work everywhere.
There's work everywhere. And
there's work you got to do everywhere. You just have a home. I want a home. Oh, you got to clean it. And you got to change the roof. And there's like everything that I guess being surprised by these things is interesting, right? Because, we don't want to think of like the realities of like actually owning a clinic or owning a home, or we just want to get to that point where we own a home, right? And which makes sense, because otherwise you wouldn't do it if you thought about every single problem. And you wouldn't, honestly, if you thought about every bad thing that could happen to you, you might not leave your house.
No, you wouldn't, which is why it's...
And some people don't, you're like getting in a car is dangerous enough, right? It's trusting all these people on a road, I think, yeah. But we do it anyway. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, if I listened to everyone, I never would have done unified practice. I'm like, you know what, you're right. They're not going to pay. And this is going to be too expensive.
If I listened to my future self, I would have never done most of the things I did. I got to tell you, for all the things in my life that have been worthwhile, every single one has been hard work. First of all, every single one has been hard work. The other thing is, if I knew at the beginning what it was going to take to get there, I would not have had the balls to start. I would not have had the courage. I'd be like, no. So thank goodness I couldn't see what it was going to take, because I know I would not have had the nerve to do it. So you start with, I wonder what that is, right? Or a friend of mine says Taiwan. It's a good place to study Chinese and I want to learn some. Okay, I'll go check that out. I don't know what I'm getting into. Then you get into it and it's like, oh my God, what am I, like the first few months, like what am I doing here? And then after a while, it's like, oh, now I get it. Now I can get across the street. Oh, I can drive a scooter here. Now I understand the rules of traffic. Oh, what's a clean restaurant? What's a dirty one? Now I know how to look and see.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but it takes time to adjust your vision, and it takes time to work out of the habits that helped you in one place that don't help you in the other. And that's great. That's fun.
I guess at the end of the day, the thing that would help is just embracing hard work, right? And understanding it.
Embracing hard work.
Right?
Embracing hard work.
It's like, okay, because if you fight it, we're talking about fighting these things, like even your own personalities, right? And making them your friends. It's like, okay, well, if you embrace hard work, it wouldn't be so painful. You know, I used to do an experiment with myself when I was like far more spiritual than I am today. You know, I've got 2 kids and if ever so focused on the worldly things right now.
Wait a minute. How's that not a spiritual practice, having 2 kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It absolutely is. It's just like I'm not thinking about some of the more philosophical things maybe I was thinking about.
Because you got 2 kids, you got to be practical. It's a good practice.
Exactly. Yeah. But I used to, like in New York City, it gets super.
It's a unified practice.
It totally is. Oh my God. I used to do this thing. I mean, I still do it actually. It's hot out and we can complain about it being hot. It's cold out. We complain about being cold. And I just had this experience when I was younger where like it was so cold in New York. It gets so cold and windy and like you can have like snot running down you wouldn't know it. You can't feel your face, you know? Really, it's so painful. And then I just decided to like relax my shoulders and just feel transparent. And the pain of the cold just went away. The thing that's creating the pain is my resistance to the wind, to the cold, to everything. My shoulders are up. Everything's like, I'm pushing against the wind. And I just decided to like, okay, it's cold. You know, I'm living in Japan now. It's so hot. That could absolutely be my reason for not going to exercise every day. But I go anyway. And I just say to myself, yeah, it's hot.
It's hot. Transparent. Let it be.
It's what it is. And I think, yeah, that idea of embracing hard work or embracing the heat or embracing the cold, yeah, it can't be your excuse. Otherwise, you're not going to get in shape or you're not going to grow your business but we can always find an excuse, that's for sure.
The work is hard. Embrace it.
Yep.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. This has really been fun.
Thank you. Yes, I know. It's like
really appreciate this roundabout.
Be a lot of editing.
We don't edit these at all. You know what I edit on these?
No.
No. Here's what you edit. You edit out a bunch of the the mouth clicks. No. Geological, I suspect, is worth listening to because it's a genuine voyage of discovery. I don't edit it this is not Radiolab.
Yeah.
This is a conversation with a clinic buddy, with a medicine buddy. So, thank you. Till next time then.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, that was a wild ride. I'm both in awe and tremble at the edges of how Kenan was able to ride the tides of Turkish, Jewish, and New York life into tech shows as a teen, real estate a few years later, and then follow the medicine to Taiwan, where he unleashed his entrepreneurial spirit into software and now AI. He doesn't seem to chase success so much as follow fascination, letting curiosity pull him into the next experiment, whether it's music, photography, or software design. Kenan approaches each with the same question: what could this become if we paid closer attention? That kind of curiosity seems like its own form of medicine. It keeps things alive, flexible, and full of potential. And now, with tools like AI entering our digital mediated world, he's seeing these emerging technologies as an invitation for us to become more inquisitive practitioners, not to replace intuition, but to sharpen it. I hope he's right. The thing that deeply resonates with me from this conversation is that the entrepreneurial spirit in medicine, it isn't about business. It's about wonder. It's about following interests to where they lead and letting each new experience and set of tools open a fresh way to see, connect, and create.